Ma'at Hotep. I am Princess Satra Niteret Kefa Abe Menuk Ma'at. Welcome to Raising the Feminine Principle. It has been a nice long time since the last time you've seen me do a newer one. You've seen a lot of the reruns that are being run on WNWP TV, and I thank Baba for that. I had actually been going through some illnesses for a while due to emotional choices that I had made. And a lot of times, a lot of us don't realize the emotional seeds that we plant and that have been planted before birth and then after birth. And it grows like anything else and it starts to manifest. And so I had pneumonia and I was dealing with the pneumonia, and now I'm past that and I'm doing much better. I've healed in many areas of my life, and I'm going to share those healing moments with you here on Raising the Feminine Principle. Before I begin, I like to give my thanks and honor to the One Most High, as without the One Most High, I would not be here, nor you would be here. So I give all my praises and thanks to the One Most High, and for the fact that I have the ability to do the things that I'm able to do, to have the mindset that I have, the love in my heart that I have to share, and to be able to bring a level of healing and showing people how to heal through this avenue. And I give thanks. And I like to give thanks to all of my wonderful sisters and brothers out there who have been by my side through all of this. My first right now, especially during the fact that I was having pneumonia, as I've shared before, a lot of people were not aware that I ended up in a shelter for a period of time. I was there for about maybe a month and a half due to choices and family issues, personal family issues that unfortunately grew. And a lot of people have family issues and everything, and one day I will explain that. And I had to do what I had to do. And it was a very hard experience to have, to be in a position in your life where you had your own car, you had your own house, you could take care of your children, you had jobs, and you have money coming in, you would be able to do things. You may need help here and there, but when you get to a point, even though we're supposed to look at going into shelters or transitional housing and people who lose their house out of different circumstances, that we look at this as supposed to be a temporary thing. But unfortunately for us, when a lot of us who go through that, it's a very emotional time frame, because it goes against your mental agreements that you had agreed upon or have learned a long time ago, since you were a child. And this is something I had to experience. And I'm going to share all these different things with you. I also like to, the main things I would like to give to right now is Valerie Shelton and Dwayne Harper. Now, to most of you, y'all would not know who these people are. Dwayne Harper is my ex-husband, and Valerie Shelton is his fiance. And our children, 2 of our youngest children, stayed there with them. And when I got sick with pneumonia, and we found out that's what we had when I went to the hospital, they opened their heart and their homes, their hearts and their home, to help nurture me back to health with a lot of love and time and nurturing. And I've received a lot of energy and love and prayers from so many people that are paying attention and following what's on Facebook, following what's on Raising the Feminine Principle, or what's on YouTube, and so on. And I give thanks to every single last one of you for opening your hearts, sharing your love, sharing your energy to help me. As you see, I am doing very well. I also like to give thanks to my children, because without them I would not be where I am. I would not push as hard to get myself going, to do everything that I'm doing. And I like to give thanks to them, LaRon, Danye, and Odea. I have many friends along the way who have been there to help me. I have my friend Tanisha McFadden. Actually, I'm in her home right now and doing this video. And she's actually going to be on one of my shows very soon. It's going to be about cheating and how that affects not just the people who are cheating, but the family, the friends, and so on, and how that affects them, not just then, but the long run. And that's going to be something that's going to be very beneficial for people who are experiencing that, who are actually involved in that act as of this moment. And we're going to share that. Hadassah, who is in Patterson, New Jersey. She was the sister, the powerful, strong sister that was with me on several of my videos before. I still give thanks to her as well. She is my sister, and she is my confidant. She is my own personal counselor, and She is a reflection of myself, just as Tanisha is. Sabrina Robinson, you have been a very good friend and a very good sister, and I love you, Queen. Thank you so much for all your love and all your assistance, and I'm always there for you when you need me. There are so many more that is out there that I would love to be able to give my thanks and honor to, but we would be here all day, and most of the show would be about giving thanks to them. So, before we go, I'd like to say this real quick. Mother, Father, God, Divine Neteru, embodiment of the One Most High, I'd like to give thanks to you for all that you have done, all that you have shared, all that you have given, and the experiences that I have had, the experiences of other people, so that we can come together as we have to share and to build and to guide one another and be that guiding light and be able to light that candle that is dim so that they can be able to feel warmth and that strength and that courage to do all the things that they need to do. I ask that you continue to give that to us every single day so that we'll be able to continue to live forward, to strive higher into our spiritual consciousness so that we may be who we are to be, the Neeters and the Neeterts, which is the gods and goddesses that we were born to be, the queens and kings that we were born to be. I give thanks to you for all that you've done, and we're looking forward to the more experiences that are here. Thank you so much, Hotep. Now, the title of this show is Symbolic Seeds. I'm titling it Symbolic Seeds because there are seeds. When we think of seeds, we think of watermelon seeds or mustard seeds and things like that. And we put them into the ground. You have to get the soil together. I've never done gardening, so I'm going off of what I've seen. We get the soil together, make sure it's all correct, and then we get the seeds that unfortunately now that we purchase, and then we put them into the ground and we water it and keep it going, nurturing the ground like parents do with their children, and then we wait for it to manifest to the product that we expect it to be. Now, those are seeds that are done on purpose. There are seeds that are placed in our beings, within our minds, every day without us paying attention to it. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because a lot of the things that I've come to realize, that I've awakened to, has a lot to do with that. For instance, the most recent thing that I've come to understand. I have been in my studies, and one of my studies right now, which is to enhance the innate natural ability that has arisen in my being. And so I have been studying anatomy of the spirit. And it was such an awakening time frame to help me to understand a little bit more about myself, actually a lot more about myself, and a bit more about the relationship of why my mother is towards me the way that she is. And allowed me to break down the negative thoughts that I've had about her for so long, because now I understand more and more why she has been the way that she has, not just towards me, but by many other people around her. I had wanted to do, and I still do, but I'm going to share this the way that it needs to be shared. I wanted to be an event planner. I had an event company here in the DMV, DC metropolitan area, and it was called Kafara Enterprises LLC. And the company is about doing themed events that are unusual, different. It might be, I want to do a party it's about Paris, and so I may get a prop that's the Eiffel Tower, and people will be on the streets with the street lamps and the benches, and there will be people with somebody that's going to draw and take a picture, draw a picture of you, and you will sit down and everything, roses, it's just going to be the whole ambiance of Paris. I mean, Paris is just one thing. It was many other avenues that I was going to do, and it was such a great idea. Now, what happened was, I had gotten to it. I was in it. I was in my zone. I was pushing hard for it, and then all of a sudden, I can't remember for exactly what it was that my mother had shared with me, but my mother had wanted to introduce me to this brother that she knew, and wanted to give what she said was advice. But it wasn't so much of what the brother said that got me to stop what I was doing and to supposedly postpone the event. It was something that my mother said that was not encouraging. And so I made all the necessary calls. I postponed it. After I did everything, the only thing left was just to sell the tickets, and I had a month to do that. And I allowed myself to accept and believe that I was not capable of doing it because that's what she was expressing to me. And so I allowed that fear of how I've always thought of myself for so many years of my life to affect me. And that seed that was planted in me a long time ago through my family, it rose back again. And it's like I'm seeing this tree all over again. So I didn't do it. And I lost all my contacts, the networks. They were no longer wanting to work with me. And that was a really hard thing for me to deal with. And that was back in let's see here. No, that was 2007. It was 2007. It was supposed to be done on, I believe it was April 13, 2007. And I haven't done it since then. We're now in 2012 and coming into April in a couple of months. So you can see that's like 5 years. That's a long time to have one person say something to you to affect you on that level. Now I'm going to explain to you why it affects me on that level. And I was not aware of that due to the seeds that were planted a long time ago. When I had my first son in 1994. I was 18 years old when he was born. Less than 2 years after that, I got pregnant again. And I ended up getting an abortion. My mother and my late grandmother and my boyfriend, or actually whatever you want to call us at the time, we were kind of off and on, but we'll just say my boyfriend at the time, all came to me and was just pushing me and forcing me to get an abortion. I didn't want it. I kept saying I didn't want it, but they kept telling me why I couldn't have it. And I wasn't, it was too soon. I was incapable of taking care of 2 children and all this other stuff. Everything was always about what I'm incapable of doing instead of allowing myself to see what I am capable of doing. And so I regrettably got the abortion. And I remember when it happened because I went to, I believe it was a Planned Parenthood in DC. I got the option to go to be put under, so I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to hear the sounds that I heard in the other rooms of that suction sound of it sucking that fetus out. And that was such a hard time to hear. And yes, for people who have that thought of an abortion, let me help you understand. That is the sound that you're going to hear. You're going to hear what it sounds like, a suction tube, and it's going to suck that fetus out of your body. And for some people, keep getting it done as birth control. And a lot of people, like myself, never forgets it. I cried, and I felt horrible. And I always felt that was the little girl that I've never had. In that, I made a promise to myself that I would never, ever get an abortion again. Now, what we need to understand how our words work is that I didn't say I will never abort another child. I said I will never get an abortion again. Now, we must understand what abortions can be. Abortions are not just the physical extraction of a fetus out of a woman's body. Abortion can be when you abort anything. You're aborting an idea. You're aborting an event. You're aborting a relationship. You're pulling out of it. Now, when that happened, and yet again, my mother was involved in that situation of why I didn't end up birthing my baby. Because my baby was also that event. People say, oh, that's my baby, and they're talking about a car. Oh, that's my baby, that's the company that they started. Well, that was my company that I started. That was my new baby. And I conceived the idea. I was nurturing it by carrying it. It took me months to get it together. And it was time to birth it on April 13th. That was the due date. And it got shut down, so it was aborted. My mental and emotional, my emotional self could not handle that because I went against myself, which would be I sinned against myself. So I felt horrible, and this is why I have not been able to really get myself together the way that I needed to go ahead and get my business off the ground. And I realized that, believe it or not, today, this morning on my way, leaving PG County to come up to Baltimore County to see and visit my friend Tanisha and her family. That was a huge eye opener for me. And I want to share this with you because there's so many people out there, especially my sisters, and this show is mainly for my sisters, but it's also for the brothers that are watching it, because a lot of the things that I'm saying can also pertain to you. Now, there is something out there that you may have experienced an abortion yourself, or you may have experienced a mom having an abortion. This is after you were born, and you find out about these things, and it affects you negatively because you may actually feel against abortion. Abortion, or it could also be the fact that maybe a situation between your parents and how things with the, all the different events that you've seen. Now, these things that happen, and what you just heard me explain when I was after my first child, that was a seed that was implanted into my being. They implanted a seed and I implanted a seed, and it was manifesting. And what happened was I ended up chopping down what I manifested, which broke my heart. It broke my spirit within me. And so now that I understand this, now I can make a new mental agreement. So I have to understand that there are times that, due to whatever the circumstances are, when you have thought about it thoroughly, that you can go ahead and abort a situation if it's necessary. But if it's not necessary, do not let anyone outside of you to affect the decisions that you're about to make. Because what it does, it makes you feel resentment towards the person who has given you the information, that make you feel guilty, and so you make your decisions off of the guilt. Guilt is a seed as well that's being implanted into your being by the person who is trying to make you feel guilty. This is what I'm saying. There's so many examples out there that can be given of seeds that are being planted. There's this one part that also reminds me of seeds being planted. And I'm going to end up walking away from the video for just a second because I'm going to grab the book. I normally should have had it in my hand, but I like to do my videos as if you were in my home, and I would have probably done something like this if you were sitting here, because I didn't have it with me, and I'll say, hold on, let me get this real quick. I'm not sure if you can see the book or not. This is the book that I'm reading. It's called Anatomy of the Spirit by Miss PhD, The 7 Stages of Power and Healing. And this is a great book. I recommend this for everybody to read it. It speaks about your chakras, and it speaks about different uses of different religions, as well as the tree of life. Not the Kemetic tree of life, because that's where I'm from. That's where a lot of my studies have come from, the Kemetic tree of life. But the Kabbalah, which is also the tree of life. But it still works somewhat similar, and it still helps you to understand things. There's this one part right here where it's talking about the second chakra. And the chapter is about choice and relationships. I'm going to read you this paragraph because I found it very interesting. It says, the shadow side of second chakra issues consist of our most prevalent fears: rape, betrayal, financial loss and poverty, abandonment, isolation, impotence, and the inability to care for ourselves. Each of these fears has the power to control us, to direct our actions for an entire lifetime. In the language of the scriptures, these fears qualify as false gods. Now, that was such an interesting statement when I read that, because so many people, we argue and fight because this practice says, oh, because you do this, you're worshiping false gods. This practice says, oh, you're this because you don't even understand the gods that you're talking about. And we go back and forth, divide, argue, fight, going back and forth. Now we're waging war, and it's stupid. It really is. But if you pay attention to some of this stuff, there's so many things that really is not truly understood, because it's being taught in a way that it makes it so that you think it's taught to way so you can think one way and not really see it in its actual symbolic mind that it was meant for. Again, it's a seed that's being planted that allows us to think differently in what we see. False gods. That has to do that, which is basically allowing anything to consume you of what you give so much energy and thought to over that which created you. And that which created you is out of love. And if it's not of love, that divine love, which is law, then it's of something else that's outside of the godness, the God power that is you, that is in you. So fear becomes your God. And that fear, which I have had a lot of that and didn't realize that I had a lot of that, as well as other many different situations, because there's a lot of people out here who do not understand it. This is what I realized what my purpose is here for. Well, at least one of them is that no matter how highly conscious you become, no matter how great you have become, no matter what information comes your way, no matter what knowledge that you have conceived into your being, no matter how much money you have, no matter how many cars you have, no matter how many big houses you may own, the man that you have, the woman that you have, the children that you have, the clothes that you wear, the shoes that you wear, the drinks that you have, all that doesn't really matter. There are things that are outside of you. And what matters is that no matter what you have acquired outside of you, if you haven't taken care of what's inside of you, if you have not taken care of the emotional body, the mental, well, actually it goes like this: the mental body, then the emotional body, which leads to the spiritual body, which now comes to the physical body. If you have not taken care of those three things that backs up behind the physical body, then all that you know really means nothing at all. And so this is where I want to help you understand this. We must be careful of the seeds that we plant. Our reactions, the choices that we make, women, the men that we choose, is based off of an experience that we have felt within ourselves. Was your father there? And if he was there, how did he treat you? What was your relationship with your father? Because that's going to make all the difference when you have a child. And it's going to make all the difference when you have a relationship that you would love to build with somebody, but then you're not able to do it because of with the belief system, the agreements that you have agreed upon, basically. And I like to say agreements because it's basically the same as beliefs. But unfortunately, how people are, we're caught in this word belief. And when we think of the word belief, we automatically think of religions. And beliefs is not just about religions. That's just one part of really a minor part. But religion plays such a huge part in many people's lives because they base everything of their life, everything that they see, everything that you do on that. We are needing to be strong. And only way that we can be strong to get through the events in our lives that we experience today is that you're going to have to go back to your experiences of yesterday. Now, I mean, not literally just yesterday, but back in the day when you were a child. If you are getting involved with guys and it's not working, you need to know why, because it's not the guys that's the problem. It's really you. There's something about you that's attracting the men that are coming to you, and you have to see that. Because if you don't, you're going to forever have this hatred towards men, and you're just going to keep bringing back and attracting the same type of person, and you're going to get more and more frustrated and not seeming to understand that you are attracting them. I'll say this again. You are attracting them. That means that you are going to attract a quality that's within yourself that you don't like, but because you haven't expressed that, you haven't wakened up to that, you're going to that thing that you dislike the most, you're going to attract that in your mate. There was a brother, and I'm not going to give names or anything, but there was a brother had contacted me once, and he was explaining to me about his relationship. And that he and his girlfriend were fighting all the time, always arguing. It was just not good. And they had been together for a little while, and this is what they do most of the time. So my first question I asked him was, how did y'all meet? And he explained to me that he was in a parking lot waiting for a girl that he was supposed to have a date with, and he was really angry and pissed off because the girl didn't show up. And so this sister came along and came up to him and started talking to him, and that's how they started off and how they met. Well, he met her while he was angry and pissed off at another woman, which means that their relationship that they conceived at that moment that they were building was being built out of anger from his side, which means there must have been some level of anger within her being. So that was the seed that they planted in their relationship, and that seed began to be nurtured through fears, anger, emotion, and it manifested to what it is today. And there's so many of us that are afraid to say, I was wrong. You know, I care about you. I do. But I realize I was wrong. You know, I was a very different person back then. And if you do have enough courage to say that to someone, the other person, you must learn to stop taking it so personal, because it's not about you. And when they say that to you, it's not, oh gosh, it's just one of those people saying that again. I used to think that too. But the fact of the matter and the truth, it is. It's about them. It's them, not you. They were not who they thought they were. They most likely didn't even know who they thought they were. We accept ourselves to be the person that we have become based off of the seeds that was planted into us a long time ago from our parents. And they're going to either come from our parents, they're going to come from our grandparents, our aunts and uncles, somewhere in the family cycle, because that's usually where everything begins. And it's going to stick with you. Like potatoes, you know, when you feel like somebody needs to gain some weight, they say, boy, let me give you some potatoes. Well, same thing. It's going to stick with you, and it's going to grow and manifest in your mind. So like I said, going back, sisters, if you have a father who was very attentive, very loving, if you had a father that showed you how a man should treat you, opening the doors for you, putting on your coat for you, treating you with respect, showing you love, you know, taking you out to dinner. And not all the times, I'm going to admit this, not all the times men have to always pay, front on the bill. That doesn't have to happen that way. It's okay for the woman to pay once in a while. It's okay for y'all to go half. You know, it's not always about the man got to take care of everything, because men have a lot on their plate as well, just like we as women do. And we are made of a balance, the masculine and feminine principle. It's not the masculine principle by itself. It's not the feminine principle by itself. It's both, because having both makes it whole. It's two in one. And that's how it's always going to be. And until the universe decides to change that, or the one most high, whatever name that you want to call this entity, this energy, this power, force that's behind all this. I want you to think back of all the different relationships that you had. And then I want you to think back. And if you can, write these things down. Write down the name of the person that you were with in your relationship. And write down the good and bad out of each and every one of them. If you had only one, then only do that one. If you had 2, 3, 4, whatever, write each of those names down. Write down the pros and cons of that person. And be honest with yourself, because it's just between you, the one most high, and that piece of paper that you're writing on. Write that down. Then when you're done, I want you to go back to who that masculine principle, that figure in your life, whether it be your father, your uncle, your grandfather, that helped raise you and take care of you, and think about how they treated you and what your relationship was with them, and then go back to that list of your relationships and see how they balanced out with each other, and see how they actually looked so close to your parents, to your father. Men, for the brothers that are watching this, do the same with your girlfriends and make the same list. And then think about your relationship that you have with your mom or your aunt or your grandmother, and do the same thing and see how that works out. Because that's what we end up doing. Either we're going to end up having a relationship with someone who is just like them, or we're going to have a relationship with somebody who is the opposite of them. Or they may have certain qualities of them. I'll give an example. My grandfather raised me. My father wasn't around. There were reasons for that I've learned later, but that's what happened. My grandfather was an Indian, so he loved nature. So he was always outside doing something that had to do with nature. And when I was a little girl, I used to sit on his lap. He would smoke his cigarettes and drink his Heineken, and he had his little radio that played his country western music. And that's where I learned to have a appreciation for, country western music, because that's what my grandfather listened to. My grandmother listened to a lot of classical music, soft rock, and things like that. So I got to learn that. And of course, me coming up as a teenager, young teenager to an older teenager, I'm listening to, hip hop and R&B, enjoying classical music and jazz and country western music. So I got to have a little bit of the gamut. Anyway, moving on. My grandfather, he would go to thrift stores and he would purchase jewelry that were broken jewelry or stuffed animals that had tears in it and you could see the stuffing coming out. And what he would do, he would take those things home, fix it, and then give them back to me, make sure they're clean and everything. And I held on to those things and I loved them to death because my grandfather took the time to repair and nurture and show love for the different things that he was fixing and repairing to bring life back into it, to then share that and pass that on to his granddaughter. He also used to take me to the liquor store, and here in Baltimore they call it the bar, and he would get me what was that, the Rock Creek sodas. I usually got grape or fruit punch, and then I would either get either a Twinkie or a cupcake or the little crackers with the little crackers with the cheese with the little red stick. I know some of y'all know what I'm talking about because they still exist. And I'm 36 years old, and this was going on when I was 5 or 6 years old, so that's like about a good 30 years. So that means if it was existing then, then it's probably existing before that, so it's been around for a minute. But anyway, I used to just ride around in my grandfather's pickup truck with him all the time. He used to take me everywhere he went, and I loved it. He showed me how to garden the different vegetables and that he had in the garden. He also had a grapevine, and he showed me how to do the grapevine at the time. He showed me how to mow the lawn and, do different things. And it was just really cool, the things that he did. He also, with the house that we lived in, he had made a duplicate house in the backyard that looked just like the house in the front yard. And so I have my own miniature house in the backyard. Now, I'm saying this because my grandfather showed me that he loved me, that he cared about me through quality time. He showed me, that he showed me that he loved me by actually using his hands to make something instead of going out and purchasing it. Now, when I was that age on the other side, my grandmother, she spent everything on me. I had all the clothes, all the shoes, all the Barbie dolls, Cabbage Patch dolls, everything that you can name. I owned every new item that came out. And that's just what my grandmother did. We traveled, we went different places. My grandmother, fortunately, was not one of those grandmothers that baked cookies and things like that. She would have went to the Giant and bought some. But we used to go out to eat all the time. McDonald's, different restaurants, especially Chinese restaurants, Three Brothers Pizza, and so on. So I ate a lot of stuff that I should not have been eating. But of course, when you don't know anything about you're not aware of the foods and what is in the food that's not good for you, you tear it down. And so, with my grandmother buying me everything, and the time that we spent was fun, but it was more time spending on things that are outside of her. And my grandfather was everything about that was within him, and some of the things outside of him. So when I got older, I started looking for these men that were more like my grandfather, but if they had a lot of money, they were wearing suits or doctors or whatever, and they had all this money, I really didn't want to have anything to do with them because my grandfather was a laborer. He helped build the railroad. He was in the military. So I've been attracted to men who were in the military, and I didn't even realize that until high school. But I really didn't date too many people that was in the military because I didn't put myself around those the people like that at all. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because I had a chance to learn, about myself. So much about myself that I was just not aware of. And the more you awaken to the truth of you and where things came from, the seeds that were planted, the better not only do you feel, but you come to an understanding of so many different events in your life. When I realized what I was looking for in my grandfather, I also realized another part that had to do with my grandfather and my father. My grandfather died when I was 13. I was 13 going on 14. And he passed away through throat cancer because he used to chew tobacco and smoke cigarettes. And my family did not explain to me anything about death so I could understand it. So I feared death for so many years of my life. Most of my childhood and teenage years, I feared the idea and thought of death, even in my 20s after I had my children. And it took me a long time to get a better understanding of death is not final. It might be final to the body that you're in, but it's not final to the energy, the spirit that resides within you. And since I didn't understand any of that and it was not really explained to me, my grandfather's passing really affected me hard. And when he died, a lot of everything about me died with him. All my loves, my love, my joy, my happiness, my peace, anything about me that I could share that was positive. It was just some things that was left. Then I had my first love's father. I met when I was probably like 15 or 16 years old, and I just fell in love with him, and he became my new father. And he was around for a while, and when I was there, and then he passed away. I met my father when I was 18, and I forgave him for not being there, and we had made all these plans of different things that we were going to do together. But unfortunately, 2 days later, he was murdered. So even as coming into an adult, I was 18 when that happened with my grandfather, and I was the last masculine principal that passed away since I was born, and affected me very hard. It changed so much about my life. And there's so many brothers out here who really think that they knew so much about me, but they really didn't. They just saw the patterns that I had and recognized the patterns and knowing that, okay, well, something must be this because of the patterns. But it's not knowing me. So I sabotaged every relationship that I had built with these guys. I did not allow them to get too close. I wanted them to be close, but I didn't allow them to be close. The moment I started to feel that connection that was building and growing within me, and I was so excited and ready, as soon as that thought came, I went, oh my gosh, no, I can't do this, because if I do this, they're going to go away. I didn't think they were going to die. I just think they were going to go away. And so it made me afraid. And I realized I messed up so many potential decent relationships with people because of those fears. I let those fears get to me. I was so afraid of being happy. I was afraid of feeling that love and that joy and somebody respecting me, because I also felt I was being disrespected so much from my family. I was being disrespected by the men in my life, but I didn't understand that I played a huge part on why those men did that, because it was what I drew to me. But I didn't feel like I earned it. I felt like the only thing that was good for me was sex, for a man to have sex with me, to lay down with me, to do all those things, and to use me and manipulate me. And I guess it was okay because I was so used to my own family using and manipulating my life that I thought, this is what I'm good for. This is all I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to stay in this one spot, never really grow, never really move, and do anything really great in my life. And because of those things, because I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, there were so many times that I felt suicidal. And I mean, and people, if you listen to me, you think, oh my gosh, really just over that. It's so much more. And I'm going to get into that in some other videos later on. Actually, you're going to find that in the book that I'm actually going to begin writing again, because I did stop for a period of time, which is not good. But I had to go through what I had to go through. Now I understand exactly all those things, and how it healed me, and it allowed me to open up and to be okay and stop having that fear of being cared for and loved, and being okay with that. There could be a man out there that actually would want to love me and love my children and would love to take care of me and get to know me as a person. And it's not about sex. It's not about what I can do to this woman's body and how hard I can pound her and all these different things. Sex can be great and it can be fun, but when that's all you feel like you're good for and your self-esteem is low, that's not a good thing. And this is how I was feeling back then, but now it's different. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, I get it, and I understand, because I understand the passing of people and why it has to be this way, and the events that go along with it, because it was my grandfather made the choices that he made in his life. He lived his life the way that he chose to live his life. He was abusive with my family back then, and not me, but my family, my mother and her siblings, my grandmother who passed away, and so on. He was abusive, and he drank a lot. He drank a lot of alcohol. He smoked, chewed tobacco. So that's how he got the cancer. And also due to the fact that my grandfather was always hurt. He was hurt and disappointed because he became that way and so spiteful and resentful towards the family, towards my grandmother, because he loved her very much, and he was in the military. And when he went off to the military, they wrote each other back and forth. She promised that when he gets back, they were going to get married. When my grandfather came back, and I'm not condoning his actions, I'm explaining how he got this way. When he came back to see my grandmother was married with 3 children to another man. And that broke his heart. The marriage lasted for a certain time frame. My grandfather didn't marry anybody else. And my grandmother ended up getting a divorce because her husband really wasn't the man that she should have been with in the first place. But because my grandfather was the type of man that he was a provider. He was one of those people that would stick it out through the very bitter end. But now he was hurt. Now he was resented. He felt resentful. And when my grandmother came to come back in his life and marry him, they got married, but he still held that resentment in his heart towards her because she removed him. She abandoned him. That's what she did. And so my grandfather ended up experiencing abandonment issues because they weren't there. My grandfather ran away when he was a young child, when he was in 6th grade, and he raised himself and take care of himself and did everything he did by himself, and then met people along the way. And so in turn, that's how he was. And so, it's sad that a lot of us just don't understand. This is what I'm talking about, these seeds that are being planted all the time. So the choice of my grandmother not waiting because she saw this guy who was what she thought was a hot man, and how it affected my grandfather, and then how it ended up affecting the children, and how the abuse came in, the lies and the cheating and everything built in, and the children were experiencing that, and then they had children, and so they started raising their children a certain way, so that trickled down to their children, and so on and so on and so on. And it becomes a cycle. Women, you understand how cycles go? Because we have a cycle every month until we get to the point where a cycle is no longer needed. It is a vicious cycle that continues on until somebody within the cycle wakes up and see that it's a cycle that is happening, a system that was created without even an unconscious system that was created. And we need to open our eyes and start paying attention. My last true, real relationship that I was in, because I would love so much to count my spiritual twin, because even though we argued all the time, we had such a connection, such a love and a vibration, and our frequency level was in balance with each other, that it was a powerful entity. It was a powerful balance, a powerful union. But we could not go anywhere. It was stagnant because he had a life that he had to go through and fix and change. And if he wasn't going to fix and change it, I could not be there. And that's why I'm by myself now. That's due to a choice. So my last relationship was in 2007, around the same time period that my business was aborted. And my last actual relationship, it really ended the day that he walked away and didn't come back. And even though I heard from him months later, it was an abandonment of him. And just like how I felt about my father for so long, it was an abortion of my business and now my relationship, and there was circumstances that was due to that. So that changed my idea. Then it just became off and on, going back and forth between me and my ex, and now at that point of starting and spending time and dating my spiritual twin. But that's all it ever was. It became nothing extremely serious, that we will settle down, we're going to make a commitment, and this is what we're going to do. And I don't want to see any of my sisters that have to keep going through that. I want you to wake up, start thinking about what's happening in your life. Go back into your mind, go back into your past, and see those roots that were planted by seeds that was not quite your own at the time, but there were seeds that were planted by someone else because they didn't understand the seeds that was implanted to them. So I want you to see that. I want you to wake up to that so you can heal and grow and learn and build and be the woman that you're supposed to be. Because once you get yourself together and you know thyself, you truly know thyself, you become in balance with your spirit, and now your mental body is correct, your emotional self is now in balance, your spiritual self is in balance, and now your physical body is doing well and it's healthy. And then you can get yourself involved in a relationship that's real instead of being involved with somebody who does not care for you, that does not want to be there for you, that's harming you and hurting you and doing all these different things towards you. I want to see more. I want you to be happy and grow. I don't want to see you unhappy. And I hope that this will be helpful. I'm going to need y'all to give me a second again because I'm going to walk away because my battery life is down to 6%. And I need about another 5 more minutes on this. So let me see me walk away. I'm pulling the cord. Because my shows are very important to me. And helping my sisters out while they're going through what they're dealing with is very important to me. And I want to see them succeed. And I want to see healthy children being raised and having a better understanding of their life and what they need to do. We have so many children out here that are hurting. And we were hurting by watching our family, watching our parents or our grandparents react the way that they were reacting. And we consumed that. And because we didn't know any better, we allowed those seeds to be planted unconsciously into our beings. And it manifested and grew in our own being, into our psyche. It attached itself to our mind and our spirit, and then it showed itself and manifested physically in our body and physically in events in our lives. If you want more for your children, if you want to see your children be happy and to grow and to live a life that has of their God mind, and stepping away from this human disease, it's a dis-ease of the body, dis-ease of the human self, that you want to see them have a better life than you. But you can't have a better life than with the life that you had until you understand the life that you're in. Until you come to terms with the life that you had prior to this moment. And it's never too late to make those changes. There's never too late. I don't care how old your children get. It's never too late. You've got to be careful with the seeds that you implant, the seeds that you purchase, because you purchase seeds by the different products that are out there. And on this, I am going to speak on this where religions are concerned, our belief systems on that. Be careful, really research and pay attention. Know what you're getting into. Don't get into it because they're doing the same thing, the passing of the seed implanted by whatever religious practice that they were in is going to become yours, and it's going to become the children. And what happens is you really don't ask questions. You really don't get in and dive right and deep into the source of that, of which you have become. And understand, just like you need to go back in your own past to understand why your life the way it is, you need to understand also why you picked that particular pathway that you chose. Because what's going to happen is that if you don't get that right, because our religious beliefs, our spiritual beliefs, it's such a stronghold in our lives, and it dictates every choice that you make. And you got to be careful with that, because if you're not, you're going to lose yourself, and you're not even going to understand where it happened, and so on. And then your children are affected by it. These are your children. These are your seeds now. They are a reflection and a mirror of you. But if your mirror, if you see yourself, when you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, or you don't understand what you're looking at, and you feel disappointed and angry, you need to think about that. You need to take some time to yourself, an hour or two every day, and reflect on your life. Just like you can meditate for an hour, just like you can go and watch a movie for an hour, play a video game, talk on the phone, read your Bible, read your Quran, read your Torah, all these different things. If you can do all those things, you can also take time for you. Because if you don't take time for you, to get to know you, to understand you, to find out how you got to you, then the you that you don't like is going to show up in those children that you have. And I want to see more than that, because I fight and battle with that with my boys all the time. Because I did not know any of this stuff about myself. What helped me to get this way is me seeking and searching for the truth about life and the truth about me, trying to find out who I am. Who is Kefa A Menuk Ma'at? What sister is this? How is she a queen? What makes me a queen? How am I a goddess? What makes me a goddess? And why do you call me that? What do you see in me that I don't see in myself? If you don't do these things, then what are you doing? What are you passing on to your children? What seed are you implanting into them? Because what seed you're implanting in them until you get it right is the same seed that was implanted in you by your parents, and the seed that was implanted in your parents by their parents, and so on and so on and so on. This is very important. If you don't understand the root, you will never understand why you see what you see on the branches of the tree. Take heed to what I'm saying. I'm sharing with this to you out of love, out of experience, and out of knowledge of what I have experienced. And out of the knowledge and talking to other sisters and brothers that are out here that I'm helping and counseling. Please listen to what I'm saying. Take that time to yourself. Because if you are not together, then neither is anything else in your life. I hope so much that this video will help many people that's going to watch it. I hope that this get as many views as it possibly can, because my thought about how many views comes on to this show is about how many people that could get healed from it. That's what's important for me. I don't care about making a name for myself. I want the household name that you should have is you and the one Most High. Reflection. Take time to get to know yourself and find out why. And when you do, I would love for you to come back and talk to me about it. Thank you so much for just taking this time with me, listening to me, walking this with me, this journey with me right now in this bit of a little less than an hour that we have been here. I hope this all works out for you. If you ever want to get in contact with me, I do counseling. And you can find me on Skype under Priestess Kepha. You can also, and let me actually share with Priestess Kepha, PRISTESSKEFA. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com/SweetTeebs, which is SweetTeabz. You can contact me at 347-552-6853, or you can email me at priestesskepha@gmail.com. Thank you so much for being a part of Raising the Feminine Principle. Again, this segment was about Symbolic Seeds. Thank you, Baba, for WNWB TV, and have a wonderful and blessed day. Hotep.